This is Jules Rivera, the artist for Mark Trail, and you are watching Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a returning guest. She is a longtime friend of the show. She's also a very talented comic artist and creator in her own right. You've known her work from, of course, Mars Rocket and Valkyrie Squadron and a ton of other stuff that she's done, but most notably recently she's been doing Love Jules, and she has a very big gig that she's currently working on. We'll switch over to the camera in a second, and we are joined today, of course, by the artist and creator of Love Jules, Jules Rivera. How are you doing today, Jules?
Hi everyone, I'm here to break everyone's hearts. Want to show off my books, like here we go, the latest book that I put out, Love Jules Tidal Wave Queen. I think I did this in January of this year, and it feels like I made this book 5,000 years ago. It's an ancient tome, all the way to January of the 2020th, yeah. And this I put out at the beginning of last year. This is Love Jules, Manic Pixie Nightmare Girl. Yeah, basically dive into my mind, learn about badass women from people who are more sympathetic towards them rather than stupid guys, because they're not smart.
We, of course, have you on the show because you hinted at this a couple of months back, and I got to see some of the artwork that you've currently posted. Right. And I'll let you talk about what is your newest achievement in your life these days.
Well, the big old thing that I am known for these days is Mark Trail. I became the new Mark Trail artist for King Features Syndicate, and yeah, people have been reacting, and it has been fun, and you know, it's been a very exciting time. It's interesting you bring up Mars Rocket, because I look at Mark's design now, and I'm like, oh no, stop being Marsh, stop that, no, don't do that. I actually have to work against the urge to just draw my old webcomic guy character, because actually the very first webcomic I ever did was Action Dude the webcomic.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
That's true. Which is how I was introduced to your art style, especially your splash of vibrant colors, which always burned my eye sockets, which was always cool.
Well, the great thing is I've kind of learned how to harness that more responsibly. Like in Love Jules, you'll notice that there are also kind of spot colors, and they are kind of a little bit eye-searing, but I've kind of learned to neutralize it with a lot of gray artwork, so that it, you know, the spot colors hit,
mm-hmm.
but that's me being all romantic with a with an eggplant on my phone. That means exactly what you're thinking. It's a penis. It's true. So yeah, I just learned to balance all of those hard colors with just enough gray to just, so people just really see the spot green,
mm-hmm.
you know, to represent my hair. Obviously, I have apocalypse hair right now, which means it's all two-tone and crazy looking and completely grown out. But frankly, I was trying to grow my hair out this year, so whatever. Anyway, that's not the point. I learned how to wrangle the colors, in other words. People are like, it's too much. I've learned how to scale it back into a package that people can be like, okay, that's cool.
So let's talk about Mark Trail. I was about to say Mars Rocket for a second.
Thank you. He's like a ghost, man. He's like possessing everything.
Talk about how you got the gig. Talk about a little bit about the history of him too, as well, because he's a comic character from the late 1940s, end of World War II.
40s, 1947, way back when, in the old times of yore. This Mark Trail is a comic strip that got started by Ed Dodd. And, well, he's got all drawn over, but, you know, these are my cops of, you know, old Mark versus my Mark. Anyway, it got started up by a comic strip cartoonist called Ed Dodd, and he wanted to educate people on conservation and nature issues. And in the 1940s, this was actually a wildly revolutionary idea, because back in 1946, 47, white dudes in America weren't required to care about anything but bragging about winning the war. So this was like this very, you know, very forward-thinking strip that emphasized preservation of animals, that emphasized education about wildlife and science and environmentalism, right? So the problem with Mark Trail is that it kind of fell by, I hesitate to say fell by the wayside, but it did stagnate, because the problem with the previous artists is that they were very much, I'm gonna hold the vision so true, I'm literally just gonna draw what the last guy drew. And there has been, I've seen on social media people circulating how some of the artists kind of copy each other, and it just kind of it became, instead of being about the future, it became about the past. And even King Features was like, we gotta do something. It's not working. Because it wasn't, the comic strip had become so like stuck in that 1940s beginning that, it was no longer true to the vision of Ed Dodd. It's not like Ed Dodd started up a comic about a dude coming out of the Civil War caring about environmentalism and we just have to stay in the Civil War era. Like, no, it's Mark Trail is built to grow and change and evolve. And that's where I came in. So King Features courted me because they started to see my Love Jules artwork, which again features me on a surfboard with a flamethrower, which if you read Mark Trail, pretty much on brand. I'd talk to me too as the artist. Because Mark Trail has a lot of action, a lot of nature imagery. I mean, I didn't even know I was the Mark Trail artist until somebody actually pointed it out to me, where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess there is a lot of nature imagery here. I mean, like, Love Jules, especially in the surfing chapters. There's a lot of just images of water and
a lot of dynamic action as well too.
A lot of dynamic action, a lot of movement. Let's see. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. In my case, I'm very aquatic. You might have figured it out. But, adventure is adventure, whether you're on water or dry land. So, also, I like forests. They're fun. What's not to like about a forest, except all the snakes and dangerous things trying to kill you? Other than that, it's great. So I got courted by King Features, who had seen my Love Jules stuff that I was just posting online just to have a me-flavored thing out there. And the editors were like, we'd like you to give this thing a chance. And I took a good look at it. And I had mulled it over for a little while. I was like, this is kind of left field, but I could work with this. I was, trying to make my brand all about, like, sci-fi in the future. Like, I even made this sci-fi graphic novel, which is right up here. It's called Spectre Deep Six. Forget it. I wasn't sure if this was necessarily right for my brand, but, a few things can happen, and there was definitely drama behind the scenes that I'm not going to comment on, but it's basically public knowledge that the artist, the previous artist, James Allen, fell out of favor with King Syndicate or King Features, and they decided to part ways. So I watched a little bit of that aftermath, and I was like, no, I really need to take the reins of this. At that point, I was only still trying out. So I'm like, no, I got to kick this thing's ass. I got to make sure that people have no misunderstanding that I am the one who wants this thing the most. I'm like, who's going to fight harder for this? Yeah. Who? Who's going to challenge me? I'm right? I mean, come on. Nobody in comics can challenge me. Maybe 2 or 3 guys, but not really. If so, I never hear from them. I don't know. So I really got inspired to really fight for this strip and make it mine. And eventually I got the good news that, hey, no, we tagged you, you're in. And I'm like, boom, put me in the game, coach. I love how guys think that because I'm a girl that, oh my gosh, Mark's gonna get all like caught up in his feelings and vulnerable and stuff. No, I know how to draw an action sequence. Like, literally my assignment this upcoming week is Mark has a wrestling match with a python. Python fight!
Love it. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my mind wrapped around.
It's a lot, I know.
It is a lot. You're right, it is a lot.
2020 shit right here, man. Except my 2020 is going the opposite of everybody else's 2020. Everyone's like, ah! But I'm falling upward like, ah! But falling upward is still falling. So, it's an adjustment.
Going back to the comic, though, like, I had just started looking into it when you first started, which was on October 12th, I believe it was your very first date.
Yeah, it's my first week.
Yeah. So it's your very first week. Yeah. The average comments from the previous artist was an average between 30 to 100 comments. as soon as you
Which
posted,
is respectable for a webcomic.
exactly. As soon as you posted your first comic, it went up to like 200 or 300 comments of the
Over
most
300, like 350 or something. I was just like,
I have never seen anything like that in the amount of interviews I've done over this past 12 years. It is incredible the amount of passionate, and I use that term loosely, fans for this comic that just latched onto every minute detail of what they didn't like about it. And then not all of them
like, I don't like the stubble. That was one of my favorite crits. I'm like, he has stubble, what's the big deal? It wasn't until one of the editors pointed out that in some of the previous Mark Trail artwork that it's really super clear that the babyface Mark Trail is a good guy and Swarthy, the other guy, is a bad guy. It's super incredibly clear to the point where you're like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it. And that just gave me some background as to why the OG fans were reacting the way that they were, because for them, I was setting off alarm bells. I was ringing a Pavlovian bell, and they're like, ah! And I was like, I just gave him stubble. Yeah, I gave Mark Trail stubble, and why I did that was very simple. It's because I based him on John Hamm, Don Draper. I feel like that was like the most obvious choice in the galaxy. Like, if you wanted to pick like a model to, model the new Mark Trail, what should he be? And I just posted a blog on the King Features website about this. But if you were to pick any Dreamcast model to play Mark Trail 2020, I'm like, John Hamm is the obvious choice.
Totally.
I mean, who else would you pick? Right?
There's very few,
there are very few, American male actors that have that whole classic American daddy vibe going on. Yeah, I picked John Hamm, but the thing with John Hamm is that he's a dude with a permanent 5 o'clock shadow. I mean, I've studied photos of him. If he were to shave any closer than what he's already doing, he would not have skin left. It would just be fascia and blood and sadness, that's how people's facial hair works, guys.
Yeah.
So I just added that to Mark's design. Also, it reads as Mountain Man, right? You're in Canada. They got mountains there, right?
Yeah, they have mountains. I mean, my area is completely flat, but other areas have hills. So, yeah, it is.
Okay, well, in the hill places, or basically in the countryside, do they have a lot of dudes walking around with super shorn baby face?
Yeah, very few, but they do wear a lot of plaid, so that is a thing.
A lot of plaid, not a lot of the shorn baby face. Mountain men are hairy. That's how they roll. If they wanted to be a madman, they'd be going to Madison Avenue, not a mountain in the middle of nowhere, or Lost Forest. We're going to put that in quotes. Lost Forest. That's the name of the actual Mark's compound. I hesitate to say the word compound to make me sound like a weird cult leader, but it does have a compound. It's called Lost Forest. And I expanded the city, it's not a city, it's more like a little village that, that Mark lives around. It's called Lost Forest Village.
You're changing an art style to suit how you do it because the syndicate wants to either attract new people, and we'll get into questions from the fans as well, because they definitely supplied a lot.
Oh, it's going to be great!
We will get to that a little later on, but
we in the game, coach.
Based on your art style, based on this beloved character that's 75 years old, I mean, he needed to be changed. That shouldn't have even come as a question to the fans.
He didn't even have a mullet phase. I mean, I had been thinking about this earlier this week, and I haven't gotten to it yet because I'm too busy actually drawing Mark Trail. So I had noticed that, in the 80s and the 90s, a lot of superhero comics dudes had mullets. Superman had a major mullet. It was a very impressive mullet. All the comics dudes had mullets. Mark Trail just went straight up from the 40s to the new millennium, and it wasn't that much of a shift because I gave him a barbershop hairstyle anyway. Okay, yes, he is picky about shaving his face, but oh my god, that's his face. That's a razor to your face with a blade. oh, why do people want the masochism so much? It's bad. Anyway, the barbershop hairstyle, that's, kind of been more of a thing lately. But people have learned how to do that. Where you just get the little clippers and you just sit the guy outside, say, all right, I'm gonna do your hair. And I just kind of make it such that this is, a thing that the Trail family does. Every so often we'll just get outside and fuzz our hair and it looks pretty good,
Just like what happened to me.
Exactly. I mean, that's welcome to pandemic living. You gotta make do.
You've only introduced, obviously, Mark Trail and his significant other. Are they married? Is it
his wife, Cherry Trail.
Okay. Thank you.
Her name is a pun. But we're going to find out some personal back history about her in the weeks coming up where her name is going to become another pun. So that's going to be fun.
You just seem to be setting it up and knocking it down as it goes. Absolutely. I want to jump into the questions from the fans because I think that's the most interesting. So this is broken up into two sections here. They are based on the majority of the questions I received were from the original fans, maybe from other people as well. But
so they're divided into rage and sobbing. Is that's the division?
Almost, but more along the lines questions about characters or potential characters that are to maybe come back or have been previously introduced. But looking in the About page, you have the core group as it is. And then the other section is questions about, as an author and illustrator, your vision for the comic of Mark Trail itself. Now, this has nothing to do with whatever you've worked out with Kingdom Comics or whatever like that is obviously that's that side of things, but this is just specifically about you as the artist itself. All right. So one of the questions is, will you be updating any recurring characters from the strip, both good and bad? Example of Kentucky Ken, Dirty, and Simo, Cal the Chopper Pilot, etc.
Okay, so I am going to bring back a couple of past characters. I'm kind of combing through the archives to see who would be a good, who would be good candidates to bring into, the new century of Mark Trail, if you will. I will say this much. I'll give this away. Kelly's going to make an appearance coming up soon. And, it's going to be bad. Mark's going to feel some pain as a result of that interaction. He is not going to be okay. Kelly's going to show up and stir some things up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. It's bad. It's very bad. But, in an awesome way. Because, here's the thing. We need, in order for us to understand Mark's heroism, he's got to suffer through some pain. He's got to feel some, real hardship and push on him that says, you will meet this challenge. Because here's the thing. In the past, he's kind of had a lot of stuff handed to him pretty easily. Even just the storyline that had just concluded, literally right before my strips went live. Because I was just kind of following around just to see, kind of gauge the vibe in the room, so to speak, looking at the King Features on message boards. Of course I look, but I only comment to troll. So anyway, I'm just checking out the vibe, and the OG strip from Jack Elrod that was running, Mark just gets a really big raise for yelling at his boss and his dying dog we didn't really go bother to look for anyway, and now he just gets a raise and award handed to him. And I'm like, I thought to myself, that is Mark Trail's last easy victory. You will feel some pain. You will face the trial, or else you cannot ascend. I feel like I answered that one.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if this is snark or this is...
I don't know, throw it at me. Well,
all right. Here it is. Will Mark and Cherry get matching tattoos or each individual tattoos and not tell one another until each other notices?
This commenter put a lot of thought into that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Presently, I know the news. Okay, here's the thing with tattoos and comics. All right, and actually, it's great you bring it up because I have Love Jules right here in front of me. Oh, hey, right here. Look. So if you look really closely on the character's thigh, there's actually a colored tattoo right there. It's a tattoo that's really on my leg. So that's colored line art. And if I were to do, like, say, colored line art, because the way the production works, it's a logistics thing, unfortunately. But the way line art works is, I mean, it reads better if the line art is not black. Because if it's black, it just looks like weird artwork, you know? Tattoos read better if it's kind of knocked back a little bit. So on basically line holds on a newspaper strip, because sometimes newspapers will only buy the black and white version. Wow. So if you do any fancy color work, it doesn't read in the black and white version. So, yeah. Maybe I'll think of halftone stuff. But as of yet, I feel like tattoos are just not a priority right now. I've got bigger stuff to handle. You know, maybe we'll kick that can down the road someday, but I just feel like I've got a lot more stuff to tackle and update than body stuff.
Will you be doing any Rusty-centric storylines in the future that has him dealing with issues pertinent to his age group?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's to know? He's a character. He's 12. He's going to be there being 12, experiencing life along the rest of the Trail family. I'm not exactly sure what the approach was for the other artists in terms of their versions of Rusty, but I get this whole Timmy fell down a well vibe with previous Rusty, and that they were kind of just making a caricature of what a 12-year-old kid looks like versus hanging around an actual 12-year-old kid. So fun fact about me, I sometimes lecture at middle schools, and I'm also an aunt. My niece just turned 18. But I remember when she was 12. Oh, man, I remember when she was 12, and I've been around her little friends and everything like that. Like, 12-year-old kids are a specific flavor. And I think as somebody who has been in the position of, I guess, almost a caretaker role, that I've had a chance to observe these kids pretty closely. So and even still, like, I always have friends who I can, like, say, hey, can you ask your kid a question for me? You know, just to ask the 12-year-old kids some questions, just because it's a whole other culture that they're growing up with, right? Like, I wrote an article about, you know, bearding and stubble culture amongst millennials, and the Zoomers have a whole other culture themselves with respect to their own fashion, their own styles, their own musical tastes, and everything like that. So, you know, it helps to kind of keep your eyes and ears open to, you know, get these stories and relate them, you know, reliably. So that a 12-year-old kid can look at this and go, hey, that's pretty cool. I see myself in that. Yeah. Or like his mom or dad can look at that and go, it's home. Because you know, like how some Pixar and Disney movies, they'll throw in some crap at the parents, like, you know what this is about. Parents are like, called all the way out. Yeah.
Same question then for character Andy.
I mean, Andy is going to be a big old St. Bernard dog doing big old St. Bernard dog things. Of course, I'm bringing him back. He comes out he should be running on the comic again in the next couple of weeks. Like, this is week 1. He's in week 5. Oh. So in about a month, we'll see Andy's appearance again. But Andy's fine. He's a big old St. Bernard. I mean, come on. St. Bernard, what is that? For our generation, Beethoven.
Yeah, totally.
If somebody says, hey, Jules, do you want to draw Beethoven? I'm like, yeah, I'm drawing Beethoven. What's up? So, yeah, Andy's just going to be just more dog-like things. I will say this, there's not going to be as many storylines following around with captions. I'm like, a caption defeats the purpose of the artwork. Like, show, don't tell. What are you doing? I understand storytelling was a bit different, you know, back in decades prior. But I just feel like the way comics are created these days has kind of, you know, the styles update. And so I lean away from captions as much as I can, just because I want the reader to be present in the artwork. Captions takes you out of it. And if you have less captions, just more focus on, you know, dialogue and storyline, then that kind of makes you experience things a little harder, I think.
No, for sure.
So, Andy's around, no captions, a lot of dog foolery. He's going to get into someone's trash. It's happening. He's a big enough dog where that could be a real problem.
Oh, for sure.
Andy versus the trash.
Another question here. There was this one person that just had some really great questions in general.
Okay.
So, will you be branding the family businesses more prominently in the future? Example, Mark Sporting, Trail Landscaping, Tees, etc.
I'm gonna have to now because I always give myself too much work, don't I? I had introduced, the trail landscaping thing as just a means of extra income for the trail family. I decided as an update to Cherry to give her a green thumb, right? And just, I can relate. Hello. I mean, I have a whole bunch of plants over there. I became a wacky plant lady. Actually, 5 years ago, I started my garden, and I've just been gardening ever since. Nice. So, I decided to give Cherry like a green thumb where, she would kind of add to the storyline that way. They have new jobs because Mark's writing ain't paying the bills no more. So they have new jobs. And I guess I started up with these businesses and everything. But yeah, now people are going to be like, well, now you got to give us the actual logo. What is the phone number that you would dial on Trail Landscaping? And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have to figure that out. Hopefully I won't make it like a prank number because people will dial the number if you put a number out there. And I'm like, actually, on one day it would be pretty funny to like troll somebody I didn't like in the past. But I'm like, no, that's super irresponsible. No. Probably just a 555 number, like 555 wet planter or something.
Actually, I was thinking you could go 1-800 Trailblazers. Or 555 trail.
I might be able to work with that. Yeah. I think it might actually be a thing, though. So, again, these are things I have to Google and check on so that real live people are not harassed by my work. Because did you know the song 8675309 Jenny from the 80s? People were dialing that damn number just to see who was on the other side. So, yeah, I'm probably just going to have to use a really fictional number with, like, a really cute, like the 4 digits is cute or something. The thing with Lost Forest is that it's supposed to be kind of like where it is a bit of a mystery. It's like Springfield in The Simpsons, where you're not really sure where in America Springfield is. The idea is to keep it more universal that way.
Totally. There was another question about T-shirts as well, like from a physical like merchandise perspective.
Like, could I eventually make T-shirts? I mean, if there's enough demand, I will make merchandise of anything if there's a demand for it. I like money. Woo! Capitalism. Yay, capitalism.
Gotta love that.
No, I hate capitalism. Screw capitalism. But if you want T-shirts and you want to get the message out there, trail landscaping. I mean, come on. People have been buying the Riverdale Serpents jackets. Like I'm seeing these people at cons with, serpents. They got the jacket and everything from Jughead's gang and oh, Riverdale is a trip. See, people criticize me for the changes I'm making with Mark Trail. Y'all haven't seen nothing unless you compare Archie to Riverdale.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I can't handle that either.
Oh, Riverdale is so crazy.
It's
so crazy. Mark Trail is kindergarten compared to Riverdale in terms of cray. I'm glad I waited until 2020 to start getting into Riverdale. It was out there for a while, but I kept forgetting to watch it. And I kept forgetting. And then 2020 happens, pandemic. Yeah. I ain't going nowhere. Let's watch a new thing. Hey, look, Riverdale.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if Riverdale can sell serpent jackets, I can sell some trail landscaping T-shirts. Why not? I'll figure it out. I'm smart.
Another question, another character then is, what have you done with Doc, and is he dead yet?
No! Why would I kill Doc? Are you kidding me? No. People, when it comes to parent figures, I feel like creators are way too hasty to kill him off. frankly, parents are way more interesting when they're alive around to drive you nuts. Also, I gave him a really sweet, real Wilford Brimley mustache. Speaking of facial hair, because I based him a little bit off of Dale from the ranch. Yeah, the little veterinary guy with the mustache, and he's just so freaking cute. I'm like, I want Doc to be that. But Doc was already mostly there, so I just gave him a handlebar mustache and called it a day. Well, and somebody on Twitter had noticed, like, why did you make the brilliant decision to make him look like Wilford Brimley? I'm like, because I care about your diabetes. It matters to me. Take care of your diabetes.
Moving on to your actual vision of the comic itself, then, because this little shorter, but it was some interesting questions as well.
Right.
There was a lot about your Twitter feed and all of that other stuff.
Sorry, I just need a minute. Here's the thing. I made sure to okay this with the editors. Now, the rule about social media is that my personal social media is fair game. And as long as I do not directly harass anybody, I can just say whatever. I can say things. I can clap back. And I have had certain opinions, but I don't engage the commenters directly in the King Features website, because why though? On social media, I have more freedom, and on social media, I get the spectacle. So what you gonna do? Argue with somebody in a room, or put it on TikTok and then get some hits? Because I have definitely gotten into the habit of reading my hate mail on TikTok. It just is a dramatic reading. And I'm not exposing the names of the people who sent me these emails. I'm not harming any particular identities. I'm not exposing anyone. All I'm doing is reading the words they sent me in an email in a hilarious voice. Like, come on, turn pain into profits. Come on, that's like, come on, 2020. That's how you gotta pivot. I could sit here and go, boo-hoo, hate mail. Or I could take it to TikTok and make fun of you. What's it gonna be, Holmes? See that?
Because that seems like a common, and lurking in the comments as well for this past week. That's been the common theme, apparently, the common question.
The common theme is Jules on her social media, be salty, right? Stay mad.
Yeah. Speaking of salty, I mean, I was actually looking into, I was going to segue into it with the fact that there's, where I live, there's the Windsor Salt Mine. And it's literally the largest freshwater salt that's in this localized area. They do about 9,500 tons of salt every year, and 85% of it goes on the roads. So I was going to say, because the salty comment that you mentioned on Twitter was a great segue into that. So that's a little history fact.
How many tons of salt?
9,500 tons per year.
1,500 tons per year, and they don't even get all the salt?
9,500 tons.
9,000! Jesus, that's a lot of salt.
Yeah.
It's almost as much salt as in the Mark Trail comments. Ooh! I help people realize that the more they complain, the more I laugh, because their anguish is hilarious. They're mad about it. There's not going to be no more coffee and flapjacks now! And I'm like, this is what you're mad about? Why? Like, this is not a real problem. Also, coffee and flapjacks, holy shit, that's acid and dough. Slow down, Gramps. That's how you get the diabetes.
That and the fake maple syrup that they have.
Oh, high fructose corn syrup, more like.
Heading into salt territory. Spoiler alert on this.
Doing my doggy paddle.
Why did you, as the artist, feel the need to literally make it an entirely new comic strip?
Great news. I did not literally, well, I mean, first of all, I was not going to make the old comic strip because the guys who do that are not in my brain. So I cannot do what they do. It's going to be a new comic strip because I'm a new artist. That just comes with the territory. Also, I didn't Riverdale it, so I don't know what you're really concerned about. Oh, it's so new. I mean, real talk. This came from high up above. I wouldn't be allowed to cause all this madness and mayhem unless the powers that be wanted to make some rain, okay? Again, Mark Trail stagnated. He needed to be unstagnated. Things change. You got to move on with your life. What do you want?
Makes sense.
That's the answer. There's my question. There you go.
No, that works.
Go walk your dog. But the answers to these questions are going to be way less thought out, way more staccato.
Yeah. Was your intent as the artist to recreate the strip entirely at the risk of losing the most loyal readership?
Yes. I mean, real talk. You're the most loyal readership, but the truth is the readership is big. And there are this many webtoons readers out there. These big readership, this many webtoon readers out there, okay? People, yeah, King Features was willing to gamble losing to get this many webtoons readers. I mean, it's about expanding readership to reach all new markets that they couldn't have before. And of course you would need somebody, you know, with an understanding of many different people's backgrounds in order to make it work. You know, you needed somebody from not the same place as the other three Mark Trail artists. I mean, they nearly all lived in the same town too. It's not a big town like Los Angeles. It's super tiny. So yeah, unfortunately, got to take the gambles in order to win the big bucks. I mean, keeping everything safe, homie, it's 2020. Nothing's safe anymore. Jules, why did you feel the need to alienate us, the boomers? Why? Why has Jules forsaken the baby? But why did I forsake the geezers? Why? Actually, not all of the older readers are mad at me. In fact, I've actually gotten, it's probably about maybe a 3-to-1 ratio of like mail that I've gotten, you know, from older people who are like, hey, I like this. It's new and refreshing. I dig it. All right. This is good. So, I mean, you are totally welcome to check yourself before you wreck yourself, but just because you've grown comfortable and stayed in your ways, it doesn't mean everybody else is happy being comfortable, because you know what else is comfortable? Boredom. You gotta change things up so that people don't get bored with the same stuff over and over again. Oh, more of this. Oh, another bullet explosion. That's not true. I don't make fun of bullet explosions because I'm totally gonna have like 5 in the next arc coming up. You know, but still, how many times can Mark go to Hawaii and never surf? Question? Because real talk, I asked over with the editors, I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's gone to Hawaii. He surfed, right? What? Yeah, he went to Hawaii, but then he never learned how to surf. And I'm like, how do you go to Hawaii and you never surf? What is that? Wrong answer, especially for Mark Trail. So, you know, just things like that. You know, you need surfing in your comics. Yeah, surfing's a great adventure. People love my surf comics and love Jules.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I would come across little things like that and just go. Even the untucked shirt thing, like, is it worth alienating the boomers to draw him with an untucked shirt? Yes! Nobody in freaking 2020 is tucking in their shirt. Aren't even wearing pants, all right? I mean, I'm wearing pants.
Yeah.
But this is the one day of the week you caught me wearing pants, because I most definitely did not wear pants the other days of the week. So I didn't. Yep. We are all disheveled. We are all kind of a mess. And that needs to reflect in the Mark Trail art. If that means that I make a few people feel unsafe, man, if that makes you feel unsafe, wait till I tell you about systematic racism. I've learned to prune my own tree of delivery of foolery. But yeah, I've learned how to snap on people pretty hard. That's what Love Jules is, by the way. Love Jules is Jules snaps on the world. So I came in ready and waiting to tackle any kind of Mark Trail foolery where people were like, blah, 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 I'm going to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, Bitch, I am the queen of hurting your feelings. Look, here's me ripping a sword out of my arm just to threaten people with, all right? They didn't know they got a fighter. They really don't know what they're up against.
Well, they'll learn fairly quickly.
Or they won't, because I'm seeing a lot of these commenters who are like, mean. But they keep coming back, and I'm like, you don't hate it that much. I see you're sticking around. Interesting. Finding new things to hate, right? I'm living rent-free in your mind, boo-boo. So, you know, maybe a case of the lady doth protest too much. The commenter doth protest too much. I think people, once they start, because here's the thing. You've only seen the first freaking 6 strips. That's barely 2 pages worth of artwork in a traditional comic. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're going to have to ride it out to see if I'm going to turn Mark into a Mexican drag queen. I know that's what everybody's afraid of. I'm going to give him a man bun, and then he's going to become a Mexican drag queen. And that'll be the end of him. No, I am not turning Mark into a Mexican drag queen. See, that would be a whole other strip. Mark Trail as a Mexican drag queen. Nope. The drag queens in Mexico are just doing their thing, and Mark is back in Lost Forge doing his thing, right? It's a very similar comic. I mean, Batman's been rebooted 6,000 times. Spider-Man's been rebooted. How many reboots of Spider-Man have we seen?
Oh, gosh, too many.
Oh, God. Like, how many times? Just in the movies you've seen Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, wait. We could go even further back if you count other older movies. Yeah. Holy Lord, we'd be here all day. But Spider-Man's been rebooted 60,000 billion times, and Into the Spider-Verse is the best rendition.
True. They're bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Yeah, into Spider-Man 3.
Like, Amazing Spider-Man was weird because Andrew Garfield, he looks like a young man from the neck down, and from the neck up, he looks like
30s.
Kind of crotchety old man, and you're like, strange. He has like this weird old man face because he's like this particular type of nose that you need to say. You see it on old guys, so he has old guy face in its young guy body, and I'm like, this looks a little confusing. So I'm really excited about what's his name, Tom Holland, new guy, new kid's doing a good job.
Yeah, he is. Truly.
Also, I absolutely love it when he's in Avengers movies going, yeah, like that really old movie, Star Wars. And I'm like, oh, I know those old crunchy dudes in the back felt that. You like it? You like it crunchy?
Last couple of questions from these fans here.
Sympathy.
Yeah. I wonder why the Syndicate opted for such a radical change. And this is the question that got me in trouble with the commenters, because I asked a different approach. I said, was it because it's a female creator versus the previous male artist? Is it a person of color versus the Caucasian artist that they had in the past? Or was it because of the art style? And at least 5 people jumped on the fact that they apparently said I was smearing a commenter there, and I'm like, no, that's just asking a question as a journalist. What are you trying to defer? Well, and they meant art style.
Trigger. Ooh, people are triggered. Oh my God! Because if you ask that question, now they have to ask themselves that question, and ooh, they might not like the answer, because what comes out might be, oh no, I'm racist.
It's true.
Ah.
I mean,
I feel like the new Mark Trail is going to have people taking a hard look at themselves. Like, why did King Features go with such a radical change? They wanted change. They wanted the comic to change. All right? I'm not going to say, I can't make it any more direct than that. You know, I don't know how many people that I could mention by name here, but basically the powers that be, and I mean, I feel, well, okay, I'm just going to say it. Yeah, Rosemary Dodd wanted a, real change in, the story, because that, she was literally married to freaking Mark Trail. I mean, come on. She would know. So, yeah, but I think people might have salty feelings about that because they might be like, oh my god, Shiyoko Ono Mark Trail. And I'm like, well, I'm not Japanese. So,
Okay.
yeah, basically, King Features wanted change. I know the stalwart readers who have been there in the trenches for a really long time, and it is a trench, and it's moist and squishy. Why don't you stand up and let me Windex that shit finally, please? You know, they're entrenched in the same old stuff over and over again, and even King Features is like, come on! Look at this! You can't be stuck in the 40s forever. I mean, they can't, real talk, the market is out there. They need people looking at their stuff. And nothing gets people interested in Mark Trail quite like Mark Trail Thirst Trap!
It's necessary, too. You have to grow, you have to evolve. I mean, that's what the art is all about. That's what these bringing in new blood is all about. Plain and simple. It's business, it's marketing, it's, drawing interest to a new batch of readers.
Change is hard. I'll tell you that much. People who are used to what? 60 years of the same crap? I mean, honestly, I don't know how you don't die of boredom. Personally. Like, even I stopped playing Mortal Kombat ages ago. Come on. I'm just like, there's only so many times you can spear a dude in the face before you're like, this again? Again? Oh, okay. I mean, you gotta move on. You gotta move forward. In a way, I feel for the people who are used to one thing, same way, all the time, forever, and suddenly a crazy maniacal megalomaniac person like me shows up and flips the table, and next thing you know, you're like, Mark Trail has stubble! The world is upside down! Everything is insane! Andy's cute! No! It's so much! No! Like, when the world centers on you, any movement feels like the world is shifting off its axis. But change is necessary. We must move forward. And we gotta start talking about some climate change! So if you think I just want to say to the older fans, if you think you're mad now, wait till I start talking about climate change, because then you're really gonna get mad at me. Then all the emails gonna start coming in. My TikTok's gonna blow up with all of the things you are gonna tell me. You're like, email! Oh man, y'all are gonna be mad at me, and good, because I just need everybody, readers, viewers, anyone, to know that to be a person of color in America is to be simmering in your own rage all the freaking time. You are a furnace of your own emotion. I know I am, anyway. And so, if the system, the way it is, has me boiling in rage all the time, you can handle some stuff. Just saying.
Last question from these commenters.
These very active and vivacious commenters. Full of life and moxie.
So, and this is probably the best way to sum up all of this stuff in general. What is your underlying strategy for this strip? And second part of that is, are you trying to go for a new audience?
I feel like I've made that abundantly.
Yeah.
Yes, we're trying to get new people. These mini newspaper guys, there's many webtoon readers. These mini comic guys, there's many webtoon readers. Like, come on, the readers are out there. They want that sweet, sweet readership. Yes, you have to do new things to attract new readership because tastes change. And so my vision with the strip going forward is start getting a little more challenging. Let me tell you something. This first arc kind of treats readers with a little bit of kid glove. And it's still going to get a little hard, especially towards like week 8 or 9. Whoa, we're going to feel some hard feelings. Mark's already on his way to confronting his past in week, not 1, 2, 3. Week 3 is where you see Mark get all like, because he gets confronted by his past in this first arc. If I had to if I had to give this first arc of Mark Trail subtitle, like just the unofficial subtitle, it would be Crisis on Infinite Marks, in which Mark Trail has to face the previous Mark Trails in a way that makes complete perfect sense. It's not like metaphysical or anything. But but he does confront his own legacy. And I feel like if you're a white dude in the first world, confronting your legacy is a really hard thing to do, especially if it's not a great one. You're like, so my dad and my granddad did all this crap, and now I gotta pick up the tab. Like, I wanted this to hit. I wanted people to start feeling some things from this. And you know what? Anger's a feeling. I'll take anger. Yeah. But really start caring about the environment and science too, because I'm still an engineer. I mean, I'm not actually still an engineer. You know, I'm full-time. I have been a full-time artist since 2014, 15. Something like that. Anyway, for the past 6 years, I've been a full-time freelance artist. But, you know, I have original training as an engineer. My degree is in electrical engineering. So I'm interested in getting people excited about science again and getting people interested in nature and fun things in a way that doesn't involve the Tiger King. Let's focus on actual animals and not the psychos who run the zoo.
It's needed too. I mean, you look back at the history of nature preservation. You look back on Smokey the Bear. You look back on various TBS shows and documentaries and all this other stuff that nature, you know, shows interest in, or people show interest in nature. And it's even go back to as far as celebrity with Irwin, the
Steve Irwin.
Thank you. Yeah.
Steve Irwin. Honestly, I feel like nature conservation, or at least icons of nature conservation, go like I would say the very first like nature daddy would be Teddy Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually the teddy bear is based on Teddy Roosevelt's experience with a real life bear.
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh! Oh, it's a really neat story. So actually, there was, I forget exactly what the circumstance was, but Teddy Roosevelt came into a situation where one of his homies had tied up a bear to a tree, and he was expected to kill the bear. But instead, he let the bear go because you could see it was an animal in pain, and the bear just needed to get let go. Like, why are you tying this animal to a tree? Let the animal go. And in U.S. history, I can't think of any other, I mean, I'm sure there are other icons, but like, the first big nature icon and conservation icon is Teddy Roosevelt. And the story of that bear that Teddy Roosevelt released inspired toy makers to make a little bear animal and call it a teddy bear. That's where that comes from. So, I mean, nature conservation has gone back, you know, at least a century and change in America. So, you know, it's worthwhile to revisit this. And in a time when climate change is considered a hot button issue, if you're not a corporate toady. Because seriously, who keeps telling you that there isn't a problem with climate change? Climate change is fine. It's totally great. Corporations who financially benefit from telling you that. They don't have to change any of their stuff. They don't have to overhaul any of their processes to make their products, or rather their systems, less polluting on the environment. No, again, when Mark Trail starts, you know, tackling more climate change related issues and environmental racism issues, because I'm literally the product of environmental racism. I've had asthma because I was born in the Bronx, and in the United States, the highest incidence of juvenile asthma for the last umpteen fucking years has been Bronx, New York, because the air quality is garbage. So, you know, I am the net result, or at least that asthma that I have, is environmental racism that happened to me. So you know I'm hot about it. These bitches tried to kill me. I'm gonna show everyone their face.
Actually, where I grew up in Windsor, Ontario, we're across the river from Detroit, Michigan. That area in itself has the highest mortality rate of, the highest cancer rate for all of Canada, basically, because of all the pollution that comes across as well too. So
I am so sorry. We're a crabby country. We're stupid.
But I don't think it's necessarily Detroit per se. I think it's in general, it's the industries in itself, because we have Zug Island over on that side too. So
I guess, but I mean, because again, we have corporations here who convince people that climate change isn't a problem. Climate change is fine. And then, it gets to, particular news stations where, oh, climate change is not a problem. Climate change is fine. Greta Thunberg is a little girl who doesn't know what she's talking about. She's 16 going, don't cry me alive by the time I come into my prime, you stupid bitches. And all the old crunchy men can just go, yeah, I got criticized.
Yeah.
Get mad. Stay mad. You want to destroy the planet that I have to live on because you can't handle hurt feelings? I will hurt your fucking feelings. Get over it. I want to save the world, and if that means I have to hit somebody in the face about it, well, then that's the most Mark Trail thing I can do, isn't it?
For sure.
I've hit people for less.
Out of your career, doing this full time for the past 6 years, though, you've also, you've evolved your art style. You've evolved your ability to be a digital artist as well as a physical artist as well, too. I think this is a great avenue for, expanding your horizons. I as soon as I heard you got this gig, I'm like, that's great. This is finally, things are looking up, and I think this will be a great opportunity for those that want to give the new Mark Trail, a chance to do so. And I'm glad that you're at least at the helm of it.
I am, I will say this much. The amount of people giving me salty flack versus people giving me good vibes for bringing good things to the strip is like 10 to 1. Like, it's no contest. The people who just learn what I'm doing and love the idea that I'm dragging this thing into the 21st century finally, they're on board. There's way more of them than there are of the haters. So I'm like, this is exactly what I came here to do. Make Mark Trail appealing and interesting and educational and fun for a new generation. All right. And, if people who are of the older generation have an issue with that, hey, I'm sure how do I put this? I mean, if you like an adventure dude that, still espouses the old values of old Mark Trail, James Allen's Edge of Adventure is available to read on gocomics.com. And yeah, that's where you can go if you want your fix of flapjacks and coffee, I guess. They got flapjacks and coffee, right? Sure. Every comic ever has flapjacks and coffee. That's how comics work.
Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who is that for you?
Well, if we're talking about the nature trail, I ended up here probably because I followed the comics of Lalo Alcaraz. He's one of the few syndicated Latino artists in America. He may be like the first of like a handful. I'm only the second woman Latina. See, a Latina. Let's conjugate for a second. Latino man, Latina lady. So I am the second nationally syndicated Latina in American history, right? So, but I would read Lalo's cartoons growing up, and I still followed him to this day. And we started meeting up at, Latino Latino Comics Expos. And, I got to be, kind of, art friends with him. Like, hello, nice to see you. But, him doing his thing just kind of inspired me to do things my way. And, we both put out great products. They don't really compete with each other. It's just I do my flavor. He's got his flavor. I feel like, seeing his comics from the age of like 11, just, I guess, planted in the back of my mind that I could end up doing the same thing. I just never really thought it was ever going to materialize. I just kind of started doing it before realizing that I was actually making the thing happen.
That's awesome.
It's weird.
It's good to have creative talents that are, not necessarily direct mentors, but people that'll guide.
Inspirational guide, like a North Star, if you will.
You've done so many comics in the past. You've done Mars Rocket, you've done Valkyrie Squadron, you've done Deep Space. Sorry, what's the newest sci-fi one?
That's Spectre Deep 6, available for purchase on Amazon.com. Spectre Deep 6.
And 200 as well. Was that
200 comes out in February of 2021. 200 is my slutty sci-fi story, so that's going to be really interesting. especially in telling Mark Trail fans about it. Like, hey guys, do you like my artwork? There's a bunch. Do you like all the flowers and stuff I draw? There's a bunch of flowers in this book too. And fuck it, like, I obviously cannot draw Mark and Sherry get their bone on. So you know, that'll certainly be a change for other art, you know, other digital readers going. But I did this before I got Mark Trail. I would still like to do the 200 sequel, but yeah, 200 is gonna be coming out. That's February 2021. Probably I'll have the next Love Jules book ready to go next year too.
Nice.
So yeah, like I do a lot of stuff. I stay busy and I try to change and try to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And you know, just we're all on a journey, right?
Professionally, you're very successful with everything that you've created as well. Also getting the Mark Trail gig and shedding new light on conservation, naturalism, and etc. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Hell yeah, I'm personally successful. I'm really happy with what I've got going on. I mean, okay, I don't have like the biggest house right now, but you know, I've got an apartment. I've got a respectable place to live. I got my own parking space. I got a dishwasher. You know, the in-house. I mean, I don't have in-house laundry, but the downstairs laundry has an app, so I don't have to get quarters anymore. You know, I have a nice place to keep my plants. I'm able to do my artwork. I'm able to do it without having to stress paying, you know, the bills with freelance work. Hell yeah, I'm successful. Thank God. Hey, pass Julie. I made it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish I were a better surfer. That's probably one area where I wish I was more successful. But, you know, we all got our goals. I'm working towards it. Surfing definitely took all of my everything to the next level. It does come up a lot in movies.
So then how do you deal with failure?
I mean, everyone gets knocked back. I mean, the very first Love Jules book, I tried to kickstart it and failed because I didn't have the reach to, you know, just get on social media and just go, yeah, I got this thing, and they get 5,000 orders. Like, I didn't have that kind of reach back then. And Love Jules didn't have that kind of reputation. So, you know, I just soldiered on. What was I going to do? Cry? Roll around in the gutter? Go, no! I don't live in the comments. I am the comments. All right? Like, shit happens. All right, you get knocked down. You dust yourself off. You pick up. You just get back on the horse. You can keep going. What's to know? This is 2020. The whole world is crumbling down around us. We don't have time to worry about crying and rolling around in a pile. Hell no. Just stay the course. Get back up on the horse. Things go bad. Just take a deep breath, dust yourself off, get back to it. Whatever. One failed Kickstarter didn't kill me. One failed Kickstarter did not get me Mark Trail. Not like they said, you have a failed Kickstarter. You are garbage. No! No, that's not what happened. I mean, things succeed, things fail, but you soldier on, you move forward, and you take the lessons that you learn to work smarter in the future.
The younger generation are looking at your work, Love Jules. They're looking at now Mark Trail. They're looking at what you've done in the past, and they're becoming inspired to become creative themselves in whatever they want to do. Maybe as an artist, maybe as a writer, maybe as whatever they want to do.
Get on TikTok, kids. I love TikTok. It's a great place to express yourself.
That too. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
You inspire people by just doing the thing that you do as hard as you could possibly do it. Or maybe that's just me. That's how I do it. I just do my thing really, really hard, right? Like, I get an assignment. Oh, okay, I gotta draw a whole graphic novel about ghost secret agents. That's true. Spectre Deep 6 is actually a ghost about secret agent. Killed in action. The ultimate ghost agent. See? I did this thing as hard as I could. I could have made this cover boring, but I said, no, crazy experiments, artwork, colors. Yeah! I just kept pushing the limits and always with the coloring and just drawing things as hard as I can, leveling up and getting better and just being unapologetically myself. That is, I mean, that's Love Jules right there. Unapologetically me. This is the pure uncut Jules. You snort this, it'll send you to the new atmosphere, man. You will end up in a parallel dimension where shit starts to make sense now. I would say, well, censoring yourself is a weird way to put it, but like figure out a way that you could just be yourself and just do that as hard as possible. Like, that's the best piece of advice that I got. Like, for me, I drew a lot of butts. I still need to do a follow-up comic because in the pandemic, my butt has changed. I lost some weight, so I'm working on getting some muscle on my butt again so I can, get my fluff back to where it was before. But even better. So, there's that. I just draw things that are very near and dear to me. I started drawing gardening comics, and people were like, put it in my face! Because everyone likes low-stakes entertainment now, right? Gardening, that's low stakes, man.
Is there anything else that I haven't brought up that, of course, you'd like to showcase and share with those that are watching this interview?
Well, I am a shill, so let me think. I wish I had a cover for 200 to show off to you guys. Afraid I don't. I mean, I could share my screen and show some artwork for 200. Would that work?
Yeah, that works too.
Okay, great. I'll just do that. And the story of 200 is about a woman who lives in a world where we've defeated death and disease, and now everybody can live forever. But at about the age of 200, your brain starts to go. I'm going to pull up this. This is a rejected cover design, mainly because the publisher didn't appreciate how stark it really was. They're like, yeah, we kind of need more so it reads like graphic novel, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll just go ahead and do another cover. Follows Ava on her way to the testing facility in order to be determined if you could go on to live as a millennial or you must be euthanized. Because when your brain starts to go, you get really wacky and violent. So I'm going to show a little bit of wacky violence. Would you like to see wacky violence, Kurt?
Of course. I always love wacky violence.
Of course you do. Come on. So as they're taking Ava to her test, and that's the woman in the picture, and if you're wondering, Jules, why does that look like you? And I'm like, it's because Jen actually told me, just base it on yourself. And I'm like, okay. Like, she wanted me to draw me in this book. So yeah, everything is crazy and all, Ava sees what she believes is her husband who had been taken 6 months prior. And and everyone's like, craziness! And this is so interesting to draw this right on top of all the pandemic unfolding. Because I was drawing these pages back in like March.
Oh, wow.
And this is when everybody was like, Nubis! Just kidding, that didn't stop. You see Ava's husband getting taken away by the suited guys. A lot of this yellow and pink movement here.
I love it.
I mean, again, 200 was another revisit to my old webcomic days with Marsh Rocket. Like, 200 is the book Marsh Rocket wanted to be. Like, if you read 200, you're like, this is basically Marsh Rocket. And I'm like, yup. I basically took all the art sensibilities of Marsh Rocket and crammed them into 200, along with a whole bunch of pictures of flowers. Let me see. Let me find a really heavy flower drawing right here.
I was going to say, yeah, that's totally Marsh Rocket.
It's absolutely Marsh Rocket. You've been there. You know me. You've been there way back when. Yeah, you know.
But I love the fact that you're like combining the colors and you're doing those types of tones and all that other stuff. It's definitely a heck of a lot nicer.
I mean, Marsh Rocket taught me to be basically just totally be unafraid of just trying things and experimenting. And even if you come up with a failed experiment, even if the experiment that you make at the time doesn't work, but it doesn't mean you didn't have any valuable lessons to take away from it, right? Mm-hmm. Here we go. We have our lead, Ava. She's having a conversation with this creepy dude with the voice, Mike Doodad. Yeah, he's and there's just a lot of really great stuff here. I'm very proud of this book. I'm going to leave this page because it's one of my favorite pages.
And that's coming out when? February, you said?
February of 2021. Nice. Just in time for Valentine's Day.
It's a love story.
Oh, it's an anti-love story because it's the story of my divorce. No, really. So, yeah, here we've got Ava. She has the, this love note that she has from her husband. The cop guy's like, F that noise, you don't get to be happy. He just grabs her along. He's like, we're going to the thing. And she's like, no! And then the thing flies away, it's covered in your tears. And Yeah. So very much. But yes, if all of you OG TGT viewers and listeners of the OG podcast, if you want to know what happened to Mars Rocket, it became 200. Comes out February 2021.
Amazon and all that as well?
Amazon and all that, yep, on Amazon.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Definitely want to pick that up for sure.
Image. Once again, 200, a graphic novel.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So, lots of flowers, lots of crazy, lots of screaming.
Can't wait. This is great.
Lots of pain. It's literally the most painful book I've ever made. Oh, God, it hurts so bad. I'm going to stop shit now. Okay. But it was good to make this book because I feel like the readers would get a lot of really good lessons to take away here. And also, I like having a sci-fi motif that's mainly visual, inspired by flowers and garden life, as opposed to machines and wires and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more biopunk.
No, and it's good. I mean, like I said, it follows what you've collected all of these years. It's looks like a great story, great concept. I mean, I love the artwork. The action, as always, is going to be amazing. And I just can't wait. I'll definitely be picking up on that. It's
going to be a wild ride. I mean, I hope people aren't expecting Mark Trail because it's good. It's not. It's going to be way harder. But but it's a visual feast. I'm really, really excited to show people even the artwork, but the story's pretty cool too. So I'm excited.
Nice.
It's going to be a really good release.
Well, we'll have to have you on as well, obviously, when the book finally comes out. Talk about it,
of course,
in more detail, obviously. But I hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Where can we find?
Time again.
Unfortunately, everything has to end. But where can we find you, of course, on the social medias and everything like that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. If we look on Twitter, I am at Jules Rivera. If you look on Instagram, I am at Love Jules. And if you look on the web, I am www.julesrivera.com. If you send me hate mail, there's a pretty good chance I might read it in a really hilarious voice on my TikTok. Oh, and my TikTok is also Love Jules. Love.Jules on TikTok.
Nice. Good stuff. Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Of course, Jules, thanks again for coming on the show. I do really appreciate it. As always, you're obviously a wonderful person to have on. I'm glad you got to talk about Mark Trail. I'm glad this is an opportunity that I know won't go to waste for sure when it comes to your creative talent and writing. And I'm glad that people are, accepting the new Mars Rocket and accepting the vision of this great batch of characters.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot of people are going to respond well. By the way, you said Mars Rocket again. Damn. Told you he's a poltergeist. I'm going to have to pick up some of the old artwork. I wish I had the old artwork without the letters, because I feel like that would actually be kind of interesting to release in a little sketchbook. But I don't know if I got that crap lying around.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
hard thing to say, but yeah, we'll see. I'll figure it out.
Mark Trail.
Mark Trail.
That's why I have it on the lower third.
So. Trail, going down the trail, going down the forest, gonna get screamed at by the shame squirrel. Oh, by the way, animals scream at Mark Trail now.
Literally?
A lot of people have been asking me, what are you gonna do with the animal cutouts where you have this one animal that takes up almost the whole panel and they're saying stuff? I'm like, well, they're not going anywhere. Now I'm gonna lean into it, have the animal actually talk to Mark. But it's not like fun Dr. Dolittle, like, fun joke. No, it's like deep introspective stuff.
Nice.
Yep, Mark Trail. It's awesome. Go read it.
So, as always, you can find this interview and past interviews of Jules on, of course, our website, tgtmedia.com. You can find, I believe, most of your interviews on youtube.com/tgtmedia. There's also some audio podcasts that I'm currently uploading as well to YouTube as well. Like my entire old archive should be up on YouTube eventually. And of course, you can find me on all social medias at Kurt Sasso on Twitter, Facebook, and a variety of other areas as well too. Thanks for listening and watching, everyone. Tune in next week for another great interview on Two Two Geeks Talking, where we talk with Nick Argenbright from the Good, Bad, and Geeky podcast. He has a Kickstarter campaign coming up called The Boondoggle, and we'll talk with him about what that's all about.
Sounds current AF, man. Speaking of boondoggles, I'm like, wow, what isn't a boondoggle?
That's true.
Oh, God.
It's a very current phrase. Thanks, everyone, for listening, watching. Tune in next week for another great interview on Two Geeks Talking.
Either way, happy trails, citizens. I'll see you out there. Stay mad.